Yeah, I
On
can hear
now.
you now.
Hey, good, good. Technology, fun stuff. Well, hey, Renata Moleta, welcome to I guess it's now a program. We're in our fifth part of the series of kicking things off with programming and all things fitness. We will get into details on you in a little bit. So you can go ahead and say hi.
Hi, everybody.
And but I'll introduce the program and then introduce you more and get into our questions. So um, we want to remind you guys that everyone on our platform that we're here with this series to just provide value for you, to provide ways in which you can learn and understand and grow in nutrition and fitness and wholeness and health, and learning that all of that has a contribution to happiness and longevity of health. So we are on a mission to reinvent how to use personal training to take care of ourselves through health, happiness, and longevity. And we do this through structured, intentional programming that focuses on six key aspects of holistic programming. That's movement, nourishment, recovery, mindfulness, health benchmarks, and connection. So, that all said, today we are talking about prehab for longevity. And we'll get into what that means in a moment. But that's what the intent for today is, to give you guys tools and a path forward on how to keep yourself healthy for the long haul. So that said, Renata, back to you. Thanks so much for joining us. You were a highlighted name for us right away when we got this started, to say, hey, she's got a lot to say about certain aspects and certain topics. So pick one for her. And this is one of yours that we feel is a expertise for you. But tell us a little bit of your background with form and then also as a trainer.
Um, well, my background, I guess I should start from the beginning, which I've
Mm.
always been an athlete. Got hurt a few times, had some surgeries, and my goal was to not get hurt ever
Sure.
again. Um, if that's even possible. But that's what led me into athletic training. So that's my background. I got into working with athletes and getting them to recover from injuries and things like that. And then since college and grad school, which I was working with football athletes, and I saw a lot of injuries and
Mm.
I saw a lot of rehab and all that, I started working as a personal trainer. I've been
Hmm.
with Form for a couple of years now,
Okay, great.
and I guess my main goal is for people to avoid getting hurt, and that if and when they do, because things happen, is what can they do to recover faster and to be better than what they were previous to injuries.
Awesome. Awesome. That's awesome. Tell me about one of your most memorable moments in light of what your passion is, what you're focused on. What's one of your most memorable moments with a client in your journey as a trainer?
Um, with a client, there's a few, but one of the my favorite things was sending a client to the doctor because she was having knee issues, and she visited the doctor. She didn't get any news. She had to get an MRI, but I had already told her what it was, um, just from special tests and things that I knew. And the doctor had to wait for the MRI to tell her what it was, and I was spot on, and she just
Nice.
bragged about it to everybody.
Trainer knows.
Um,
Yeah.
but it builds such trust, and like people get so invested when they feel like you know what you're talking about, and they give the time and attention. So I'm gonna remember that forever,
That's
because she's like,
awesome.
oh, she'll just tell you what you have, and I'm like, well, it's not that simple, but
Uh,
yeah.
awesome. Awesome. And what would be something that, if I were to ask your clients what you're most passionate about, what would you be known for in your passion in the space?
I think it's just caring about them as a whole being. It's not
Mm-hmm.
about just the benchmarks, it's about them, how they feel, it's about how their families feel, like, and just in life. Their goals are much more than just the gym. You
Sure.
get to the
Sure.
point where it's like building confidence. It's feeling more energetic to play with the grandkids and things like that. So I think for my clients, they would describe it just caring in a more holistic
Mm.
way about their goals in their lives.
Awesome. And that aligns with our mission so much, that it's not just about the workout or just the weight lost or the weight pushed or lifted. It's that fitness or taking care of self and health is one component to having a happier, healthier life. So so great that that's your mission and passion and what your clients are experiencing from you. So now getting more into the topic for today, that we are focusing on prehab for longevity and working out. Let's start with prehab. What does the word prehab mean to you, and why does it matter to anyone listening today?
Well, I think prehab is pretty much everything other than rehab,
Hmm.
right? So it's everything that happens before and around it. A
Okay.
lot of times, people wait until they have an issue to take care of it, or they don't want to, you know, explore why that thing hurts, and they just try to
Hmm.
avoid it. And I think prehabs takes care of everything because it's like you're not okay, you're not avoiding it, but you're also not going to feel pain while you work to get better.
Great.
So that's how I see it. It's just everything you can do to continue to feel for your body to continue to feel the best it can be for as long as it can be.
Awesome. Awesome. So you said something there that piqued my interest. You said those pains that you're feeling, it's not avoiding it and moving around it. So prehab actually, if anyone listening, if you could take and stop and take assessment right now, where am I hurting or where do I hurt every day? And I just ignore it or work around it and move on and assume that that pain is part of life. Sounds like you're saying prehab is like, no, let's let's stop and address that thing before it becomes debilitating or an injury. But it is absolutely a proactive mindset on what we do with the pains we feel on any given day.
Yeah, no,
That, yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. And I think a little bit of like what I tell my clients sometimes is when they do have pain is if we're doing an exercise, it's like if it goes away, if it stays the same or it goes away, the exercise is for you. If it
Mm,
feels worse or if it feels painful, there's other things we can do. We don't have to do that.
awesome.
And I know sometimes, you know, post surgery and rehab, sometimes you have to go through certain pains to gain mobility and, you know, to just go back to where you were
Sure.
because of something like a surgery. That's not prehab. The
Mm,
prehab is just, you know, working around your limitations to get you stronger. So whatever is hurting or is painful or is going in that direction, we can avoid that.
awesome. Awesome. Okay, so now talking about prehab for longevity, tell me about longevity. What does that mean to you? It's not a common term in fitness, but it's one that we use at Form quite a bit. But shout out to, I think we have the same Form hoodie on.
Yeah.
there's there's a handful of different things we could have worn. We both chose the same uniform, so way to go. Great minds think alike there. But yeah, what does longevity mean to you in regards to the fitness industry?
So longevity, it's so interesting because I hear a lot of people thinking, you know, as they get older, they can't do certain things and, you know, they don't move the way they used to and their body or the body is like going into a direction that they don't want. And I think longevity is just, you know, you get one body. So the more
Mm-hmm.
you take care of it, the more you move, the more you nourish your body with good quality nutrition and just good sleep, your body can go so much longer, can heal
Mm-hmm.
so much faster. So I think longevity is being able to do what you love for as long as possible and not prive yourself because, you know, there's a couple hurdles in the way.
Hmm. Awesome. I love that. So it's not living just for the workout. It's living for the life, the longevity of life and being able to move and enjoy it all the way through. So when you put those two together, that we're prehabbing for longevity, again, going back to that, you talked about not ignoring or even going around the pains, but addressing, making sure before they become debilitating injuries. That's where that, for the purpose of the longevity, for the long haul. So tell me a little bit about longevity outside of the weight room or outside of the workout. Um, how can we take that mindset in fitness and use it to support the fact that we're not here working out with the mindset of I just want to keep working out forever, but this applies to everyday life. And I think you just took a trip recently where some of that came into play for you, where long prepping in the weight room or in your training sessions allowed for you to enjoy life at a better level outside.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I recently, last year, I took a trip to Spain and I went with a friend and we biked for 5 days. It was about
Wow.
40 miles a day. And, you know, we biked through these like small towns and it was sightseeing everything and just taking the scenery in.
Hmm.
And we trained for that. And it wasn't
Sure.
anything, people ask me, it's like, oh my God, how hard was that? I'm like, you know, it's not hard when you're training for something like that. You're
Mm,
not going to
sure.
the gym because you have to go to the gym, or you're not doing an exercise because you have to get a certain number or repetitions or weight. You're training so when you're biking, you're not hurting, you're enjoying the view, you're not, gasping for air. You're training so you can be efficient in something, and you can just benefit from it to see the world in a better way.
Yeah, awesome. I love that. And it could be a variety of things but that mindset of like, what outside of the workout will keep my body going long term? And sometimes that's extended rest from working out. I've taken some seasons where, hey, I just need like a month or two to deload, to just like let my body heal, to only stretch or only do mobility. But then for me also, I have a electric skateboard, and like that's one thing for me that to proactively take care of longevity for me is like I just need something that is, for some guys it's golf or pickleball or whatever, but like something that is low stress, low demand, but active and elevates my quality of life along the way. So, do you find yourself ever programming that into your clients, into the protocols of like how can we make sure that they're actually living life well physically outside of the session on any given day or week?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I want to pick on what you said, because you said, like take a break from the gym, but you're still talking about mobility
It's true.
and stability. And so you're still moving with
Yeah.
purpose. The purpose might be more fun than
Mhm.
actual, achieving certain, benchmarks, but you're still moving. And I think that's what a lot of
Mhm.
people forget. And I try to remind my clients is, yes, if you tell me I didn't do anything Sunday, were you sitting on the couch or you were playing with your grandkids? Because if you're
Right.
playing with your grandkids, you did something. Oh,
Yeah.
I just went on a bike ride. Well, you did something. So, a lot of times I question my clients as far as like what's the rest day looks like, and what are
Mm-hmm.
you doing on the days that I don't see you, because it can count. How many steps you took that day. If you went for a hike, a swim, if you played outside, if you went skiing, like there's so many things that you're doing and you're moving, um, that I think a lot of people forget that.
Sure.
And if you combine the two and you remind them, it's like, okay, you're doing this balance exercise because
Yeah.
you're going skiing in a couple months.
Yeah.
And then
Awesome.
it becomes more fun,
Yeah, absolutely. It all adds up for sure. And I think a lot of times people will get stuck of like, oh, I'm out of my routine. I can't get motivated. I didn't go to the gym, or I missed my workout. I'm failing. Like, well, go walk that off, like change up a routine at the base level. Start with what you can, where you are, and what you have. If you're busy, but like you can get out of bed and do your first 15 minutes, hit the street and go for a jog or a walk, like, and then build from there. So, that's awesome. And you mentioned something that you went on a trip with friends, and the choice of transportation, but then also the focus of the trip was movement,
hmm
um, which you could have chosen so many different things, and you chose that you were going to enjoy life through movement. Is that something you do often or intentionally, as a with your friends and as a traveler?
It's something I've been trying to do more intentionally and more often, because what I realized, and I tell this to my clients as well, is we get so stuck on gathering with people around food,
Mm-hmm.
and food
Mm-hmm.
becomes such a thing where it's like you're going to see someone for lunch, and being Brazilian, that's how we show love. So it's like you go visit your family, you go to lunch with your cousins, and you go to dinner with your grandma, and then if you don't eat your mom's food, like you know
Yeah.
so it gets so focused. So I've been trying to do things that are much more mindful of movement. I'm going for a walk with someone. I'm going on a trip where I can bike around, or I'm going on a different trip where I can hike. There's so many things you can do with people, and have that connection, have that time with them, but you're moving instead of, just sitting and eating out, for
Yeah.
example, which, it's nice, but if you do that with everybody that you love, that's all you're going to do all day.
Yeah, it's so true. That is, food is one of the major connectors and sharing a meal together. But having that mindset, as you're speaking about it, I'm thinking my brother and I, we connect well, but we always connect through movement, whether we're going hiking or biking or exploring or climbing, or like when we come together and connect through movement. Whereas with my parents or other family, it might be through conversation over a meal, but almost always we'll ask like, "Hey, after the meal, let's go for a walk." And then there's deeper connection through movement. So I feel like that's a topic all its own, that the power of connection through movement. But thanks for touching on that. Getting back to prehab, I know you have a background, a degree, certifications, experience. On a practical level, what are some of the most important tools that we can know about and then go utilize as far as prehab and how we can actually apply it to our everyday life or before every workout?
Um, I think if I'm following you, you're referring to like mobility, stability. Is
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. I mean,
So,
you tell me, but that is the question. Yeah.
yeah, no, I think we as trainers, we have assessments to see where people are as far as their mobility, stability, strength, and we kind of, well, we know what they need to be at in order to be functional in things that they do in a daily life, right?
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
sometimes you'll hear a client come to you with pain and they say, "Oh, my doctor said I can't lift this much weight, or I can't do this, and I can't squat."
Sure.
And just right there and then, every time you sit you squat, so you know
Yeah.
we have to do something about it. So I think for me the biggest thing is just it's the functional movement, the functionality of it, and just kind of like going through how the body's supposed to move, right? Like, do we have enough mobility in the right joints? Do you have enough stability in the right joints? Do you have enough strength? Are the right muscles picking up the load? And just looking through all of that is basically watching something and looking back and being, okay, what are the little things here that we can do to improve that? So it's not even, like rocket science. It's really just like small movements and small cues that sometimes the client picks up and they're like, oh, that feels different. I'm like, exactly. That's
Yeah.
what you're supposed to feel. Just like, honor that feeling and try to stay there. So I think we have so many tools that we can utilize, but at the same time, it's important to break it down to the client so it's easy for them to understand and they don't feel challenged by whatever names and
Sure.
tools that we bring into the picture.
Sure. And it is such the small things. I started running in third grade, so I don't want to fully age myself, but that was like 35 years ago, almost that long ago. And it's, as you're saying, mobilize, stabilize. Like, oh yeah, I have some nagging pains, and they come and go over the years. And so long as I mobilize it through stretching and soft tissue, so just basic stuff, make sure I roll out on use a foam ball or a foam roller or a golf ball or a lacrosse ball, roll out my arches, stretch my heels, and then do some calf raises to activate that. I'm good to go. I have longevity of the ability to continue enjoying running. If I don't do that, my heel will start to flare up and then it will turn into an injury. And I no longer can partake in the activity that I enjoy. So it's so simple. And if I do it, I can keep going. If I don't do it, it will start to shut me down. Which leads me right into my next question on prehab versus when things start to actually turn into an injury and need rehab. How do we determine which is which and how to handle those?
um I think they go hand in hand. I think it's very, it'd be unfair to just say, okay, we're done with prehab, we're going to rehab right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because prehab is staying active and moving and keeping your body fresh as long as you can. So let's say, you have a knee injury and there's nothing you can do. The doctor is going to intervene. There's going to be a surgery. You still can prehab the whole entire body, but
Mm-hmm.
that knee, you can still get that knee strong with certain exercises for surgery.
Great.
And then the minute you do have surgery, now you're talking about, let's say, good quality foods, right? To decrease inflammation and help with the healing process. You're talking about good quality sleep. You're talking about movements of the other body parts so the blood can flow. So that's still prehab, but you're rehabbing that knee. So
Sure, sure.
you know, so I think that's something that just it can go on forever because you're always preparing for something. I mean, you
Yep.
always keeping yourself just, and that's not the right word, but it just makes a lot of sense. It's like lubricated, right? So
Sure.
if you don't
Yep.
if you
Yep.
don't use a joint, it gets stiff.
Right.
So if you
Yep.
keep using it, I think it's just like, in order for you to achieve longevity, you have to think of it as a long game.
Great. Yeah, and not just a long game for that one joint, but if that joint is stuck or is broken or does need help, it's do you stop, do you shut down the whole system? Do you just wait till that thing heals, or what do you do if you want to stay active but you have an injury or you have a pain? Do you shut the whole thing down, or what? How do you work around it?
Um, and so I think before even you go to where you have to shut something down, um, one of the beauties of programming is because we cycle through things. So, in athletics, sometimes you use the same movement and the same joint. The demand is really high. But when you're training, when you're working out with a trainer, you have moments where you're working on strength, where you're working on mobility, and you're cycling through all of that. So, as long as you continue to cycle through that, you can fit in injuries and rehab and still continue to improve on other areas. And I'm not saying that to be like, okay, you're out of surgery for 2 days, you need to go to the
Sure,
gym.
sure.
Absolutely not. But there are things you can continue to do, and just start getting back
Mhm.
into the just good quality movement.
Yeah, yeah, that's great, and that's what I was kind of leaning into is that I, as a former athlete, and you talk about working with athletes, I still have this mentality that I have to overcome of like, I've got to train hard and it's got to be like this every time. And like, oh no, it's starting to hurt. Oh well, keep going and let it hurt until it hurts so much you can't do anything anymore. But to say like, hey, I'm gonna set this intention or goal for the next week or month or training cycle of 3 months. If something starts to hurt, I need to listen to my body, adapt, work around it, address it, prehab it, and fix it so that I can keep going in other things. And I think a lot of times we feel that, oh no, well, it hurts my back when I run, so I should stop running. Well, maybe you should check out what's hurting, and maybe you do stop running, but you stay active with walking, and then do proactive hip mobility to open that up, release some of that, check out your hamstrings, your groins, like anything you can do to keep moving towards that end goal, even though sometimes that end goal, the path to it needs to adapt or change. And I feel like prehab is so much a part of that. It's like it's an ongoing conversation with your body of how are we feeling, what is starting to hurt, what is feeling good. Let's do more of what's feeling good. Let's address what's starting to hurt so we can stop it there and move forward in strength. So awesome. That's at least that's what I'm gathering is what a lot of what you're saying
Oh,
is.
no,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I think when I had the transition from football, from college athletes to regular people, let's
Yeah.
call
Yeah.
let's call it, I'm a regular person now.
Sure.
But I think the biggest lesson for me there was, we're all the same. The process is the
Mm-hmm.
same. The rehab is the same. Um, the only difference is the time.
Mm-hmm.
So you get an athlete that sprained an ankle, in 2 weeks they're back on the field doing amazing things. You get a 60-year-old that sprains an ankle, in 4 months they're back to doing the same
Sure.
thing. So not 2 weeks, 4 months. So I think longevity is exactly that, is understanding that you might not get the results in 2 days anymore, but you can get the same results in a year.
Great.
And so not saying you can never do this again. I don't like to hear that. Like, that's one of the
Mm-hmm.
things that's very hard for me, because you can probably do it if you do the right things to get there.
Sure.
It doesn't have to be as fast, it doesn't have to be as strong, but if you want to live a good life, you should be able to pick up your grandchild. You should be able to get off the floor. It's not going to be the same, but
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't have to be, I can't run anymore, I can't ski anymore, I can't. I think there's a way. When there's a will, there's a way. You just got to take it slow and understand that it's for the long run. It's
Mm-hmm.
not for one event.
Awesome. That's so great. You almost just answered my final question for you, which is as we wrap up here, I would assume your answer it'll be somewhere along the lines of this. But if you could leave people with one piece of inspiration on or application on how what can they do and what's your leaving message or sending message of how to live a happier, healthier, more fulfilled longevity type of lifestyle through the use of prehab and the focus on the long game.
Um, yeah, I think it's somewhat along what I said, where don't, if something hurts or if something is not working, don't give up. There is so many other, we know this, there's so many other exercises, there's so many other modalities, there's so many other activities that will get you where you want to go. So I think not giving up, but also listening to your body and caring for your body like what it is. You only get one. Like you can't order a new arm on Amazon, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah,
There's so many things we can replace. That's one thing we can't. And we live with it every day. So caring for it usually translates to, movement, nutrition, and the people you surround yourself with. I think those are the main things. So if you want to stay in the game for as long as you want, that's what you need to take care of.
awesome. I love it. That applies so much more that, as you're saying, like, man, that applies to real life. That, hey, if things get hard or if what you are trying to accomplish is starting to get inhibited, don't give up, but also understand that we need to be flexible and may need to find a new path, but keep moving forward. So
Absolutely.
great words, great message. Great having you on our platform here, Renata. We will certainly do this again. This is our, we're just wrapping a first series here on kind of the holistic basics of programming and fitness and health and nutrition and prehab. But loved everything you had to say and share, and honored to have you on here. And hope to see
Thank
you
you.
again soon. All right.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Take care.
Bye. Bye.